So obviously, thank you very much, Boh Runga. So obviously, at Renowned Sound, we get approached by a lot of labels and PR companies to talk to a lot of artists, especially over here, American artists, to talk about new releases, tours, etc. The interviews that we love doing the most are the ones where we get to talk to people that we personally admire, and talk about their career. And I think that the career of yourself and the career of Stella is one that's definitely worth celebrating. And I've been a long time fan of Stella since I was living in New Zealand. Mix came out in 1999, fell in love with it. And so I've been sort of hoping one day to sit down and talk to you at some point, and everything went quiet, and then obviously now you're back to touring, which is amazing. So the opportunity came around, so thank you so much for replying to my email about an interview.
Oh, that's okay. Andrew, the drummer from Stella, sent me your request, and he would just keep bugging me until I said yes, really. No, he wouldn't at all.
Thank you.
But yes, Andrew. No, I'm totally happy to talk about Stella, of course. You know, it's a massive part of my life. So yeah, and it's lovely that you're interested.
Yes.
So thank you.
So first of all, how are you? How's everything going? What have you got planned for the day?
Oh, for today, oh, gosh. So we've hit a New Zealand summer.
Yep.
You guys will be in the throes of winter, would you not be? Yeah. So we've had a New Zealand summer, and I have to do the gardening.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's horrific. Don't worry, don't say that. Don't worry. Thank you. Yeah. But no, and of course we're. Pardon?
You're not green fingered.
I am a little bit, but not really. It's quite a high maintenance garden, so I've got to get out there, and and we're sort of thinking about putting the house on the market as well. Thinking about it, but I don't know. If anyone needs a house out in West Auckland, there you go. This is taking advantage of this interview to say, yeah. But no, I mean, we've just come out of a lockdown situation in New Zealand, so so Auckland has just come out of that a little bit. We've been given a little more freedom now, and so we're trying to deal with this new way of operating.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So you've been quite heavily involved in doing your own interviews. I was watching a series that you have, the Life in Lockdown sessions.
Yes.
That you were doing with your sister and fellow other musicians in New Zealand.
You must have been one of the only people that have ever seen those.
Viewers of those.
They're quite entertaining. I mean, that's just me asking random questions that pop to my mind, really. But yeah, I'm sure it's not going to be like this interview at all.
I mean, that obviously started from the lockdown. Obviously, it was lockdown inspired. The Life in Lockdown. How did that go for you? Did you get what you wanted from that? And you spoke to obviously a lot of people, including your sister, about how they were spending their life.
Well, it was just interesting to see how people were dealing with things and what was keeping them entertained, or what they were sort of doing to keep themselves going through that lockdown situation. And everyone was dealing with things a little bit differently, but it was also good to know. I don't know, it's nice to sort of celebrate what people are up to and what they're doing,
Yeah, because I think everyone's dealing with the COVID situation in completely different in different ways and experiences. Different people have families, people are single, so I guess the struggles are definitely different.
I think for myself, I feel quite lucky as far as that. I know that a lot of people had their children 24/7 and they weren't used to that sort of thing, so they were sort of I didn't have to worry about my child's education or anything like that, but I know people were concerned about it, and a lot of people just would throw up their hands and go, well, you know what, we're just going to have fun with it because we can't keep up with this education system. That's just it's quite interesting. People connected, reconnected. A lot of people reconnected again with their families a little bit. You know what I mean? So I think that was a nice thing to sort of hear about.
Yeah, and I think people with quite full-on lifestyles, I think, got the first chance in their lives maybe for a bit of a breather.
That's true. So there was some interesting that was an interesting thing to sort of hear about.
Yeah.
And my friends as well, because my friends that I didn't interview were just hearing their stories and what they were up to. So yeah.
So I want to take you back in time to 1990.
Take me back. Take me back.
Take you back. Going to go on a bit of a nostalgic trip. So
Yep.
take back to 1999. Obviously, that was the year that Mix was released. I want to talk about the production side of it, because you obviously connected with Tom Bailey, who was obviously well known and famed for being the lead singer of Thompson Twins. Can you tell me a little bit about the backstory there? Because you know, Stella or a Kiwi band in general, and the lead singer of Thompson Twins. How did those two things sort of marry up in the end? How did that happen?
Well, it was actually a fortuitous kind of suggestion from Stella. Or I'll take you back a tiny bit further. Stella got signed to Sony New Zealand, and we were under the management, well, under the wing of the A&R person, the late Malcolm Black, the late beautiful Malcolm Black. And it was actually, you know, he got to know us and he got to talking with us about what we wanted to achieve with the music that we wanted to do. And he knew that we were interested in that quite electronic side of things, and quite, you know, pop and all of that kind of marriage between rock and pop and electronic for us. And he wanted us to meet and get together with Tom Bailey, because Tom was living in Auckland at that stage. He'd moved to Auckland for a while. And so he organized a dinner with with Tom, where actually at a restaurant called Stella, which was on Ponsonby Road many years ago now, obviously in 1999. Oh no, sorry, 98. And we just hit it off with him. Like, he's the most interesting, engaging person to talk with. He's he's just a great deal of fun, and he has a broad range of interests, and he's very interested in people as well. And he's musically amazing, of course. So we were like, yes, please. Can we please have Tom Bailey produce with us? So yeah, it was a great situation to be in. You know, we felt we were chuffed because we were fans as well, all of us.
Yeah,
he's a great songwriter. He's a great producer. He's just got it all going on. You know, who isn't a fan? You know, I have great respect for him. Yeah.
So the Mix, for me, I mean, as a Kiwi, I grew up really loving sort of more the European sort of sound of pop music. And
that's because you're from Christchurch.
Do you think so?
I do. I really do. I think New Zealanders have an affinity to a more European English sound of music than they, you know, well, that's what we were exposed to more, perhaps, you know.
I think so, yeah.
Being, you know, from the Antipodes, you know.
Well, you know, actually you say that, you know, sort of a lot of...
sorry, I don't know how old you are, though, so it's like
40.
I'm just guessing.
I'm 40.
Pardon?
40.
Oh, you're 40. I seriously think that, you know, because we have that real kind of, you know, I don't know, Christchurch people. I remember back in the day when I was 18 in 1988, was that, you know, we listened to a lot of music on, you know, on TV or everything, but we had a lot of English sort of bands and stuff going on, and pop music. And I think that really, for some reason, that's what we liked a lot, I think.
Yeah, I think a lot of my influences came from around my teenage years, where we started to get MTV Europe. And so I think that carried into my really strong love of what Stella were doing. Because for me, Stella always stood out amongst all the other New Zealand bands at the time, having much more of an international sound to them, a much more of a European sound to the record. Why do you think that is? Do you think that's because of the songwriting? Do you think that's because of Tom Bailey's involvement in the production side of it, perhaps? You know, and obviously his work with Thompson Twins.
I think it's because all of our influences as a band and our formative years as a band and as individuals comes from that more European kind of sound, as you say, or an English kind of pop vibe, you know, pop electronic-y sound, if you like. And obviously Tom's influence too, and our we were lucky, we were blessed with fantastic engineers as well, you know. So it was a whole combination of things. Also, the exploration of where the songs could go, that was actually a major part of it. You know, we were just into the exploration and into experimenting with sounds. And to me, I loved listening to mix on headphones. I used to listen to music on headphones all the time. I still do, actually, unless I'm in the car. I don't listen to music at all in the house, you know, really. So it's a really good headphone experience, because we took a lot of time doing a lot of mixes so that it sounds great when you're listening to things on headphones, you know, instead of like computer laptops and stuff like that. So which is what people do now, all their phones.
Yeah, very tinny.
But it was a long time ago, you know. 1999 was basically, we're on the cusp of a big change of the way music was being heard. We were on the tail end, basically, and then it really kind of changed, you know. The way that people's access to music was changed over the next 5 to 10 years, you know, significantly. So we were very blessed to be part of that time, you know.
So, you know, that actually leads me into the next question. Actually, we've talked about the fact that, you know, the influences making your music sound a lot more sort of like mainstream, international, English, but also the different genres in your music. Because one of the things that I really loved about Mix and all of your albums, in fact, is when you put your headphones on and listen to the music, you know, to your casual listener, you're a pop rock band, yes, but put those headphones on, you can hear all these other genres, you know, including electronic, which is very different for any other New Zealand band at the time. You know, like songs like Nerve and Consequence or Tenderhook.
See, I love Nerve and Consequence. So that's one of my favorites to sing as well. And I'm always trying to push that one into our set list when we play live, because it's the one that I get to be, I almost feel like I'm a singer, because I get to sing on a top range. Because I'm quite a lazy singer. I like to sing quite low in my range normally, but that's the part where I go, oh, and I get my Celine Dion on. Not really, but you know. But it's a beautiful song as a song.
Yeah, songs like that carry so many more genres than just your standard pop rock band. Was that always the intention to include those genres? It sounds like it was, from what you're saying earlier.
I couldn't. I'm not sure. I think it was mainly based on. I don't think it was a purposeful. I don't believe it was a purposeful thing to go. Let's sort of encompass all these genres. I think we basically looked at which songs made the cut into what we were going to record and going to put on a concise album, and then we went, how do we make these songs sound as best as we can for you as a listener and for us, you know. That's what I think we just looked at each. I mean, Nerve and Consequence, I wrote everything on bass, either bass or on acoustic guitar, or sometimes with electric guitar as well. But basically, they were really stripped down songs that you can play on an acoustic fundamentally. So they got broadened into these big sort of soundscape things, or these big sort of weighty, you know, songs. And basically it was all about the song and how to make it sound good within a body of work. So that we were happy with, that we loved.
So, you know, I mean, take me into sort of like your home life growing up. You know, obviously your sister Beck, obviously a household name, the world over. Your sister Pearl is also a musician.
She's the best singer.
Oh, really?
we always go, yeah, she's such a good singer. She's the one that is like, wow, you know, if you heard her live, you'd be like, what are those other two should just give up. no, she's an amazing singer.
So, I mean, take us back to what it was like growing up in the Runga household. I mean, did you get a lot of your influences or inspiration of wanting to be involved in music, all of you, from your parents? What sort of artists were they listening to that you maybe carried over into your own work?
Yeah, I mean, we listened a lot to, I mean, mum and dad had their own music, obviously. There's a lot of Bacharach, you know. There was I remember that they had actually one album that I remember that they had was The Shadows. What is it?
Cliff Richard and the Shadows.
No, not Cliff Richard. It was before Cliff, I believe. No, it was like that song which has got that real beachy guitar. Oh God, I've forgotten it. I've forgotten it. Dum, 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 dum. I've forgotten.
Oh,
There
that
are
sounds
that
familiar.
song.
That sounds
So they
familiar.
had that on vinyl. They had
Yeah.
a whole bunch of things to that they loved. And I remember my dad, because he really wanted us to play piano. We eventually got a piano, but he also bought Richard Clayderman for us to
Oh,
listen to. You'd have
fancy.
to Google. You need to Google him. And there's a whole bunch of things. My father was a self-taught pianist, so he could play things by ear. So he could hear something and then rummage his way through the
So
keyboard,
music's
basically
obviously in
finding.
family veins.
Yeah, and my mother was
Okay.
a singer back in the day when he first met her. So, and she's an amazing singer too. So it's like we had a lot of that musical, kind of family thing happening. We'd always sing in the
Yeah.
car. We'd always have the radio on in the car. You know, it was a big part of our lives. In fact, my parents had no issue with us pursuing careers in the arts, basically. There was none of that. Dad wanted us to be either musicians or artists. That's what he wanted from us as adults. He was like, yes, that's what he wanted.
So
Artists.
there's always been that sort of creative push in your family.
He's really like, yeah, he might very
Yeah.
much so. Mum, not so much so. She wanted us to just do whatever we wanted to do, obviously, and do it well as best we could. But Dad was like, artists. Which is kind of funny. Most people, don't they want lawyers or doctors? I'm not sure, but apparently, according to other people that I know, that's what their parents wanted. But he was like, musicians, artists. It's great. It's cool. And so we had a lot of that. Yeah.
So being a female fronting a band, you were sort of a bit of a trailblazer in New Zealand, because at the same time, there were so many different bands out. The Exponents, Shapeshifter, Zed, all male led, and really with the industry sort of still like it is today, it was quite male dominated. But as a female frontwoman of the band, who the rest of the band is made up of males. What was that experience like? I mean, was that a challenging experience trying to find your voice within a sort of like a dense male industry? Did you have any challenges with that?
Dense male industry. No.
Your words.
No, your words. No. No, I mean, I remember Julia Deans though too, like being part of that kind of thing as well. To be honest with you, I never personally had a problem with being a woman in a band, because I had the support of the guys in my band.
Yeah.
And I always felt I was always really, we always treated it as a kind of everyone had their opinion, everyone got heard. I don't know. I couldn't speak. I can only speak from my experience as that I didn't really have an issue with it. I think the more the issue came about was how we were perceived, because Beck was my sister and in a different kind of area of music. And, she was also on Sony. So it was like there was more of that kind of thing, was I think for people like coming to terms with, with that, I think maybe for people. But I think the industry in general back then was actually pretty good to us as artists, and as me as a female artist with my friends in my band. With me, we were just a band. I didn't really think of it. I mean, unfortunately, when you are the front person of a band, you are always the one that people want to speak to.
Yeah.
So it's always good for me if I was there with somebody else, so that I didn't want to speak for everyone. I'm going to speak for everyone today, because they're not here. But you know what I mean? It's like good to have that sort of, to be seen as a band, because that's what I was we were all worried about that, because it's like, it's not myself as the lead person and then this whole backup band. We were a band.
Yeah, because I guess that could also cause perhaps some animosity within a band, to sort of feel left out of the equation when it comes to.
No one felt left out of interviews. Interviews are quite difficult to do. You're sort of trying to get things across. But and also the creative side of it. I mean, everyone was so, there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes with the production and just the building of songs, you know. It's not me. I mean, I'm the main songwriter predominantly, but you know, it's a collective effort when it comes to the way the production is, you know. There's a lot of work done by the guys, by Andrew and Kurt and Chris as well, you know. You can't just put that on Tom. It's like a real, and Luke as well, our engineer. Yeah, it was a real group effort, and I think that the best thing about Stella is that we were a group effort when it came to the music, you know.
Yeah. So I want to ask you a different question about each of your three albums. Starting with Max, what are your fondest memories about that era of the Stella career, around the recording, the writing process, maybe the touring of that album?
When actually, you know, the recording part of, I mean, it was very exciting, you know. It's like a dream come true when you are in a studio together and you've got a budget that isn't your own money. Well, it is your own money in essence, but it's always a little better, you know. I've got fond memories because we were working at a studio now that doesn't exist, called Revolver, and we would get there, and my mother was actually cooking for us when she was our chef, if you like, and the studio, it should be, and so I think basically the guys just turned up because they wanted whatever food was happening, you know. But I mean, it was kind of really cool that we had this whole kind of little family set up where my mum was looking after our needs, is, you know, to feed us, and we could just work like wholeheartedly on this project, you know. My mum went down to, I think she went to the nearest supermarket or something, and she comes back all flustered, and she calls it the chi bomb. She went to go and buy some chi, you know, the chi, I don't know if you remember this, the soft drink in the bottle, because I think somebody wanted some chi, and it exploded on the this is nothing to do with music at all. It exploded on the freaking, what do you call it, when they went through the checkout. So she had to be at a thing, and they're cleaning up this whole chi explosion. So we got to listen to her talk about the chi explosion for half an hour before we could do any more work. So, you know, things like that I remember very well. But you know, I remember, you know, all of us at the final point of sort of doing a mix down, we do it manually on the desk. So each person had a bit of the desk that they would have to pull the faders down. Pulling faders down on a desk manually, that's crazy.
Wow.
All of us would be lined up. Tom would be at one end. Tom would be sweating because we'd do it with a time frame, because you know when, and everyone's like this, looking at each other and going, like, you know, faders not looking. And if it wasn't quite correct, set it up again, and you do it again, you know. So it's all this kind of real, like, visceral kind of holding of things, and just, yeah, it was a great deal of fun. And it's just, there's so many memories like that and so many laughs, you know. The conversations you have in the studio are ridiculous, and they don't get censored just because I'm a woman either. In fact, I'll probably start half of them, but yeah.
So fast forward from that album, 2001, you released Magic Line. I know my favorite song, Taken. Absolutely adore that song. What's your favorite song from that album, and why is it your favorite?
Oh, you know what? Taken has got such great sounds in it.
Oh,
do you know what I really like? I mean, I like Magic Line because of the way I like the product, and I love the Pray for the Magic Line is not a song about drugs. It's a song about wanting to write something that people can relate to, you know. So you're hoping for like something for people to grasp onto. So, you know, Pray for the Magic Line. But I love the sound of it, and I love, for me, like I just love those kind of vocal things of singing in octaves and just having these kind of really layered up vocals and that kind of thing. And the rhythm of that song I really love. That could be my favorite one of that album. Yeah, I'd have to have a wee listen, I think. It's weird because I really enjoy listening to songs for different reasons. It might not necessarily be my performance in something, or you know what I mean? Like it could be something that I really like the sound of something, and I'll listen to. I'm one of these people that when I really feel attached to a song, I will listen to that thing over and over and over again. It's so annoying. You should see my Spotify. It's terrible. I just listen to I'll just listen to a song over and over again. It drives people nuts. So because I like the production, or I like the melody, or whatever.
Well, you know what, that actually leads me, and it's quite spooky you say that. It actually leads me into the next question I've got about something strange, something like Strangers. So obviously that your final album was released 2006, and there's a particular song on that album that, I mean, it must drive my husband absolutely mad, because I play it over and over again. It's called Miracles.
Oh, that's a beautiful, I really love it. It's so it's just pretty.
Beautiful song.
I mean, and yeah, because I co-wrote that, and it's a simple, do you know what I do respect to that song? It's very simple and it's gentle and it's kind of, but I really like the lyrics in that. It's just a really upfront kind of but you know, there's something very satisfying about the way it swoops down into the chorus, and it's just gentle, and yeah, I just love that melody, you know.
Yeah, there's a particular line. I've always loved that song, but there's a particular line, and it's how it starts off. Sit with the paper and coffee, a different day, the same typeface. The world's not the way that it should be. The funny page ain't so funny. To me, that's just it's a lyric that's always stuck with me.
Thank you. I'm so pleased. I think it's I always go like this when I come up with just personally. But it's to me, I'm a bit rhymey. I like the rhymes, you know. But I like a rhyme that makes you feel, and also the same typeface can mean obviously for me means different things. That's your own particular face of the world, or it's the same freaking story that you're reading again about something. Yeah, and I think that song's a little bit underrated, I think, and underrated, I don't know, but you know, I'm very proud of that song.
Yeah, I've always wondered why, you know, like when a song just sort of stands out to you and you're like, why was that never released as a single? How would that not have gone to number 1 if that was released? It's one of those songs that it's always stuck with me, and I lost my iTunes. Still mourning the loss of my iTunes, and I've actually got the CD in a storage box in my mother's place back in Christchurch.
Do you want me to get it for you? Because we've got to go down to Christchurch at some stage.
Yes. No, but
roadie out to your parents' place.
Road trip. No, I was really happy because each year I've been just watching, like glued eyes to Spotify, waiting for it to come up on Spotify. And the first 2 albums are there. Part of something like Strangers has been there, and now the full complete album is there. So I listen to it every day about 20 times.
Oh, bless! That's amazing.
But I want to ask you from that about your process as a songwriter, because obviously you're the principal songwriter of all of Stella's works, and you've had a solo album out, which I'm going to ask you about in a second as well. What type of a songwriter would you say that you are? Are you someone
a lazy one?
Clearly not. You've got an amazing repertoire.
Do you know what? I had the greatest opportunity. You know, I spent some time in Los Angeles to write with different people and just to sort of learn, basically. Yeah. And my work ethic as a songwriter is rubbish. And in comparison to the way that people approach things, there's a whole industry based solely on songwriting, which I mean, I was always aware of, but it's a very disciplined industry, and I love to be distracted by other things and life in general. And I think that if you are going to be a songwriter and take your musical career seriously, you really have to concentrate on doing that, you know. And I learned a lot, but I also learned that I love being part of a band. I love that. I love co-writing, but also there's other things that I really want to do as well, and you know, that I ended up doing as well. I think that I love, do you know what, I love not the mechanical part. I love if you have an idea as a songwriter, I love when it comes from this tiny little seed of an idea and it just forms and blossoms into something else that you go, oh my gosh, that came from nowhere, and I've created this little thing. Those moments are really special, and they give you a bit of a kick, you know what I mean? Like, that's why I think people love it. They're really happy that they've put this jigsaw puzzle together, that, you know, of this puzzle that didn't exist before, that they've made. So that's the kind of songwriter. I wish I was more disciplined in the way I do it, but I need to set aside a great deal of time to actually go, right, I'm going to write. But I also need a purpose for doing that as well. I don't really sit there and write for the sake of writing, although I should, because I've got a friggin' studio and a lot of guitars. You know, I know this is my partner's and my studio, and we between us have, I don't even know how many guitars. Some of them are in the lockup as well. But he is a dedicated songwriter and musician, and he, you know, he's very motivated, and you know, I would love to be as disciplined as that. I think that was a real wake-up call to me when I realized that you should throw it all in that way, as people normally would, you know, or because I want to do other, I've got a jewelry brand, you know, that I wanted to sort of put some time into and everything. And I was like, well, what do I do, you know?
So has there been any, because, you know, you released your first solo album, was it the couple of years after the last Stellar album? Has there been any talk of either doing a follow-up to your solo album or going back into the studio? Obviously, I want to talk to you in a second about your live performances back with Stella. But has there been any talk about recording anything new with Stella, or maybe a follow-up to your solo?
The thing is, that was just with right here. It was basically, I guess, sort of putting out some songs that I really liked, or it wasn't necessarily, it was just something for myself, I guess, in a way. But it's, I don't know, it's a funny thing. I have got so many interests in different kinds of music that I would like to do, but if you did that as a body of work, it could be so they could be so varied that it would just become like some sort of variety show. I'm not sure whether that's a very good idea. But nowadays, of course, with the advent of like Spotify and the way that people they listen to music, they don't necessarily listen to a body of work anyway. They listen sporadic, you know, to bits and pieces, a song or whatever, which is a little unfortunate, because musicians, when they do write, they normally would write something, so they're giving you a bit of a journey, you know what I mean? But that's not the way people listen to music anymore. So it's kind of a weird one. So maybe an odd eclectic mix of things would be quite fun, but I don't know, you know. As far as Stella's sorry,
carry on.
As far as Stella's concerned, I mean, I'm talking about myself as an individual. As far as Stella's concerned, we have a particular kind of sound which we would need, I feel that we would need to respect if we were going to do anything else. And I think it's like finding the time to actually get together and do something is quite difficult, because, you know, that everyone has their own stuff going on. I mean, it's not something that might not happen, but at this stage it's highly unlikely that will happen in the near future, you know, especially since this whole
the door is completely closed on it. So
the door is not closed. It's one of those interesting doors that, you know that TV show Mr. Ed. I don't know if you know that TV show.
I remember.
You know, so the bottom stays like this and the top can go like this. So, you know, it's a twofold door, whatever. So the top part's open, the bottom bit's sort of shut, but, you know, you can easily open that part as well.
Good. We like that answer. It's a good answer.
I mean, we love hanging together. Well, that's why we're doing these shows. You know, we wouldn't be doing these shows otherwise. It's nice that people want to hear us play again after such a long time, you know. So yeah.
So what's it like being back on the road? Is it quite nostalgic for you guys being back together and playing these shows?
Yes, it is. I think it's a very fun situation. if we didn't like each other enough, we wouldn't be doing it at all. I mean, money is one thing, but it's not everything, and everyone's got their own stuff going on. So we're quite choosy with what we say yes to as well. So it's nostalgic, it's fun. I mean, people that have been in bands before, it's one of the most fun things you can do with a group of people, really, because you get to travel around, you get to make you get to see places, you get to see, it's just great, and it's in a fun environment. You get to see other bands as well, which is great. You get to go and use the toilets backstage rather than up the front. You get a rider, you've got your drinks over here, it's all good, you've got food. It's just, it's a great experience. So we really enjoy it. And you know what, it's wonderful to have people come to see you, and sometimes we do signings afterwards, or sometimes we're selling merch or whatever, and it's wonderful to talk to people, and they're like, oh, I used to listen to you guys back in the, and that's really nice. It's quite cool, and people still have that fondness for our music that I think that's really special. I mean, that you've made sort of a connection with people that is rare in a world that nowadays, when connecting with people is actually quite difficult. People are holding on to something that made them feel good, or that they really connect with. Those memories and those kind of feelings are precious and should be, it's like, it makes it, you're a human being, you have to have connections. So it's really nice. So it's nice to have that kind of, I don't know, it's nice to have that sort of connection again with people.
So you've got a few shows lined up, obviously throughout New Zealand. You're doing the Selwyn Sounds. Is it Kickdown that you're doing next month?
Kickdown we're doing, that's a fun new festival. So that's going to be great. Yes, we're doing Selwyn Sounds. Unfortunately, we were doing Christchurch as well for New Year's Eve. So that's been that's not happening, so that's unfortunate. We've got quite a few shows, so it's it's really fun, and it's great. Like, we've done Selwyn Sounds before, so we had a great time last time we played. So it's and that's a massive show. That's like,
it is.
Yeah. Will your family be there?
I would be telling them to be.
Get them to bring you.
In New Zealand, I would be there for sure.
Oh gosh, no, it's so much fun, seriously. And all festival shows have been fun. We've been so lucky to have done them before in the past, But of course, now with this sort of, with COVID right in front of us on our doorstep, it's a little bit tentative with things, So I really feel for the music industry as far as live music goes. Everyone involved with that's just so, you're on tenterhooks all the time, just about if something's going to happen, if I mean, who knows, Rhythm and Vines have just been postponed, so I mean, it's just a hard slog for that live music industry at this point in time.
So last question for you here, Boh. Talking about live stuff, obviously you've got a lot of fans over here, a lot of Kiwis, a lot of Aussies over here as well. I know a lot of British people who, when I said, oh, I'm interviewing Boh Runga, they're like, oh my God, we love her, we love Stella. Is there any chance of you guys ever coming over to the UK to do anything, even like maybe a small little showcase?
Oh gosh, we'd love to do that.
Where I could come along and get a copy of Mix signed,
Oh wow.
That would be special.
Oh, that would be amazing. You know what? Just recently, we got sent this message on saying, oh, you guys are playing in Miami this weekend. Oh God, I'm not there. And I'm like, what? We're not there either. No. And it was like some weird thing where it said that we were playing with our picture and everything in there. And band name, I'm like, okay, we're not. The reality is that we wouldn't. Yes, we would love to do that, absolutely. But the reality is that would not be happening in the near future until this pandemic has been curbed considerably. I think but we would love to do shows, of course. We haven't been to the UK in such a long time, far out. Shepherd's Bush, we haven't been there for such a long time. So I don't know, never say never, but yes, of course, we'd love to. It'd be lovely to meet you in person.
I would love that.
Yeah,
Would love
that'd be
that.
amazing. And I
Well,
totally dig that shirt. So well
thank you.
done. It's like, I love it.
Hey, thank you so much. It's been a bucket list item that I can
Oh,
tick off
bless.
speaking to you, and you look incredible. The band sounds
Oh,
incredible, and thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
oh, thank you. Thank you for having me on there.
No
Thank you.
worries. I will.